With the physical horrors of Camorra behind them, a long and arduous journey, possible only with the help of a Xenos guide, lay ahead for the rogue trader and his party. From one strange destination to the next, through unknowable environments, the mere sight of which could drive one to madness. Despite the challenges, they managed to escape the labyrinthian webway and find their way back home.
Free the bold from captors grasping! Dark cities, feeble dungeons, eternally disgracing. Flows now this saga in the hall of glorious feasting, where all extol the wolf mighty, and the yet fatter cunning. I hope you're not going to put off the feast. Our escape demands a grand celebration. Find my pack. As we speak, they are likely performing some bloody service for Calcazar. For that reason, I want to have a word with the Inquisitor. Fenris Hjulda, et Fader.
Rogue Trader. Ask your questions. I will decide which is worthy of an answer. The Drakon is the first among the blades of the Cabal of the Reaving Tempest, and the Drukhari who stands but one rung below the Archon. The Drakon leads raids and wages wars against other Cabals, keeps the arrogant true-born and half-born upstarts at bay, and has the pick of any opponent in any battle. Irimaris used to have others in her inner circle, but I ensured that they all disappeared one by one, and that their successors were too terrified to take their place. That was when my sister engaged an incubi order to serve as her bodyguards. Incubi do not respond to fear or bribes. Must there be another reason beyond survival and ambition? Camorra does not tolerate weakness. Camorra respects only strength and cunning. Either you climb upward on the corpses of your enemies, or you become one of the steps underfoot. We shared the same blood, and we emerged into the world from the same womb. We were both true-born, and we both stood above the scum that comes from tubes and vials. Keep your arrogance in check. Irimaris was clever and deadly, and if I had underestimated her abilities and strength, I would have been food for the Urguls long ago. The very fact that she surpassed me speaks for itself. I refused to give her cause to cast me out as a traitor. No, our rivalry, our little game that ran since our birth, took time. And another thing, when you're at the top, you need something to stave off boredom. This game amused us and terrorized the rest of the Cabal. The Cabal of the Black Heart is the most ancient of all the Cabals, and the largest. It casts a shadow over all Camorra, and when the Black Heart strikes, you submit or you die. The Reaving Tempest was not prepared to perish, so when the Black Heart's shadow stretched as far as us, Irimaris' predecessors chose to bend the knee and become their vassals. Irimaris never liked the Cabal's subordinate position. Her words, and sometimes her actions, directed against the Black Heart, prompted whispers of discontent and fear among those who served her. I was not willing to renounce the protection of Astrobyl Vekt's own Cabal. If I had succeeded in overthrowing Irimaris with Nazrakay's aid, many within the Reaving Tempest would have supported me. Tavantius was Irimaris' ally, not mine. The Reaving Tempest is his patron, and patron also to the witches of the arena. I've had cause to seek out his artistry several times, and each time with difficulty. Of late, he's been gone from Camorra more often than he's been in it. He was probably in one of his lairs where he hides his other experiments and creations. After Tavantius quarreled with the witches and was stripped of the Cabal's protection, his havens in Camorra were turned into a deadly trap. I imagine they've been ransacked and destroyed by now. His other hideouts may be somewhere in the tangle of the webway, or in real space. But that last possibility is madness even for a homunculus. When the grotesque of a rival cabal ripped my arm off at the shoulder, when I needed a substance to wring the truth out of you in the Obsidian Court, when I had personal desires that only a master of flesh could satisfy. You are just dying to know, aren't you? An amusing example of a primitive mind. Any Drukhari towers over any monkey, and we do not conceal our attitude to livestock, but my Kabbalite kin. Every one of them should be treated with caution, and those who have already demonstrated their power and might are a deadly threat in their own right. I do not revel in submission. I accept things as they are. And I wait until a point of weakness reveals itself and calls to my blade. It is a caste in Komorra. Noble Drukhari born under certain circumstances. Their cradle before birth was not an amniotic gestational tube, but a living womb. Carrying a fetus for such a lengthy term is as good as a death sentence for a female Drukhari. She is too vulnerable to her enemy's attacks, and she is of no use on a raid. In Komorra, only the most powerful Drukhari, who are able to surround themselves with the best protection, can allow themselves such an extravagance. Farkaza Aziriesh, poisoner of Azdrajar, and Shaimish's elect, was one such exalted leader of the Drukhari. The result was worth the effort. It was a punishment. One of my raids was not as successful as it should have been, and Irimaris ordered Tavantius to forcibly implant the knowledge of the repulsive monkey language into my mind. Supposedly so that I could at least benefit the Cabal by coaxing the monkey into their cages. 5 days I spent under a cerebral burner in the Spire's main hall. To the delight of Irimaris' entourage, I dislocated every joint, struggling in agony against my shackles. But I would endure it all again to expel this poison from my head. Eviscerator of Illiridas, Blaze of the Barkag Kingdom, and Slayer of Corocius the Pale. Illiridas was a world inhabited by our distant Eldari cousins, until I led a reaping raid there. The Barkag Kingdom was a separate cluster on the fringes of Komorra before it went to war with the Reaving Tempest, and by the time I left, I was wading through the blood of its inhabitants. And lastly, Corocius the Pale. He was an ancient homunculus who betrayed the Aziriesh at the behest of another Cabal. That was not a military victory, but a personal one. In his attempts to make himself invincible, Corocius had sown inside himself the deadliest creatures from the depths of Komorra. It did not save him. I cut out every one of his 8 hearts and sent them to his former coven as a warning to the rest. Are you sure? What exactly do you want to know? In all ways, the Asuriani are feeble shadows of our ancestors. We are their true inheritors. The Asuriani hide from she who thirsts behind their paths, relying on the visions of their precious far-seers, or blind to the reality around them. We Drakari laugh in the face of the unknown. We thrive off the carnage and pain we inflict. Because the ecstasy of suffering is the highest form of pleasure, accessible only to superior beings. By your very nature, creatures like you are incapable of knowing such gratification. Careful. My tolerance for such remarks will run out eventually, even given your depressingly simplistic mind and non-existent instinct for self-preservation. Watch it. It is Monkey who run and hide, not our kin. Camorra is the legacy of our ancestors. They found a way to penetrate the tangle of the webway and move through its twisting labyrinths. Few would hazard to travel in this splintered kingdom, let alone erect bastions in it. The Drakari are the only Eldari who do not fear the horrors of the webway. For every peril we overcome makes us stronger. No. No one speaks of the Overlord of Camorra without good reason. Amusing you is certainly not reason enough. Perhaps. What else? I must adapt to my new circumstances. And to this bucket that you Monkey call a void ship. These alloy bulkheads. So primitive. Then go. I will find something to amuse myself with.
The Dark City released us from its thorny embrace. The wounds of the body will heal. But what about the wounds of the soul? Cruderach fell, and its demise shattered the fragile lives of countless children of Assyrian. Scattered across this part of the galaxy, hounded by the Monkey, pursued by the Dark Cousins, imprisoned by the servants of She Who Thirsts. Hatred is strangling me like a snake, and fear is coursing through my body like a burning poison. For the path I chose is leading me down the roads of failure. I can neither hold back my grief, nor rein in my anger. And yet, I am powerless to stray from my path. Pay no heed to my fleeting wrath, Anantak. When the will slips away, the soul trembles with rampant emotions. But I will resign my heart to meekness, for there is no other way a marked outcast can help their fellow Eldari wandering in the dark. I found myself in the Dark City after following the twisted roads of truth and lies. And although the truth blossomed like an ugly bud and scratched my soul with its thorns, I did find the answers to my questions. Those who come back from the dark of the webway will never be the same. But it is we who change while the surrounding world remains imminent. This thought gives me strength. I have no need for your sympathy, Elentark. Besides, neither Monkey nor my dark kin found the decaying remnants of Kruderak. Perhaps all is not lost. Perhaps we may yet bring back what has been taken. On the trail of a monkey called Caligos Winterscale, even a worm may harm a wounded tiger by bringing infection into an open wound. And the wounds of my people have been bleeding ever since Kruderak's demise. The spirits of my kin need a poultice, a hope, not the executioner's sword already poised to fall.
trader. You dare to ask me that question? Every time this barge pierces the veil, I am left alone with all the nightmares of she who thirsts. It costs me all my fortitude and strength to fight them off, and there is never anyone at hand with whom I can indulge myself. Only cold walls and a sealed airlock. Since the first time, I've been slowly acclimatizing to voyaging through the veil. Only Monkey could have conceived of such a suicidal method of galactic travel. However, it is novel and exhilarating. At least now I know what I'm facing, and consequently, I will find a way to withstand it. And now it is time to learn what is happening with the Cabal of the Reaving Tempest, leaderless and abandoned to the mercies of Camorra. The survivors will probably be driven into real space to fall prey to Silent Thresh. You must find them. If we encounter the remnants of the Cabal in this dimension, I will want to speak to them. Then go. I will find something to amuse myself with.